In this video, we will discover edit mode in Blender. So edit mode will let you manage the entire geometry of the mesh that you import of the primitive you will work on. So let's try with maybe a monkey, okay? Let's add a monkey there and we will keep it like that. We will not smooth it or any modifier into it. And let's go into edit mode for the first time. So you have the possibility to go there and you see that you have a few here modes that are available in Blender, and we will go into the edit mode. So the interface will look different. We will have a few other tools here and we will have different menus as well here. So first of all, you can see that you can access to all the little dots that we have, the edges and etc. And I will talk about it soon. And we have the possibility to enter in edit mode directly with the tab shortcut. So very easy to go from edit mode to object mode directly with tab shortcut. So you can switch to it directly like that. Very, very easy to manage like this. Okay, so now we will have the possibility to access to all the data of the mesh. So here the data is composed by vertices, the little dots that you see here. Okay, vertices are linked together with edges, and you can select the edges like this. You can end multiple vertices, like 4 vertices here, will make a face, and you can select the faces as well with this mode here. The shortcut for it is 1, 2, and 3 to have the different selection modes: 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. Okay, so like this, you don't have to go there and to switch there, so it will be just tab, okay, and just with 1, 2, 3 you will select here directly the data that you want to manage. You can select, move, rotate, and scale the same way that you make it in object mode. So very efficient way to manage that. Okay, if you select multiple vertices or you select vertices like that, okay, you can scale it, scale the selection, you can make rotation on the selection, you can make movement, okay, you can grab the selection with G as well, and you can manage it with the same data that we did use, with the axis, with the numbers, if you want, for example, to move it into the z-axis and 1 meter here, so you will have this kind of behavior. Okay, so yeah, very easy to understand when you understand a little how it works object mode. So you just enter into one object. Okay, you can enter into 2 objects as well. So when you have multiple objects in Blender, I come back into object mode with tab and duplicate here Suzanne. Okay, so let's take the Suzanne in the center. I can just select only inside the object I did select. Okay, and if I have multiple objects selected, I can enter in edit mode at in different objects at once. So it can be sometimes confusing. There are little things that you cannot make when you select multiple objects at once. Like for example here, let's say I will remove, because I can remove here a vertex or an edge or a face, and it will create a hole like this. Okay, you can see that I can remove it. And if I want, for example, to reconstruct the data here, the surface, I can select the whole loop, and I will show you how to select that later, and make a face with F, okay? And or I could select 2 vertices like this and make an edge between the 2 vertices with F as well, okay? So yeah, not too complicated to manage this, but if I have two objects and that I want to link here, there's two vertices and try to make F, it will not work because Blender will not understand, can make a link between two objects because they are two separated objects. If you want to make that, you have to join the object with Ctrl J, okay? And now it's possible to make this. So it's important to understand that, okay? So yeah, you can select multiple objects at once and go into edit mode with multiple objects at once with some limitations, but it's already very important to understand that. The first shortcut that we did see, okay, it's to remove geometry. You can remove with delete, you can remove vertices, edges or faces. So for example, if I select this face, if I have this selection here, I can remove the face, okay? So with X or delete, you can just remove the face. If you delete the vertices, it will delete more geometry because vertices are linked to other data, okay? To other geometry around. And if you want to remove only faces, like for example to keep this edge here, okay, so you will just remove and choose only faces, for example, okay. You can choose to remove some geometry and keep the surface behind, like for example, if I want to remove this and keep the surface around, I just use the same way, but I will use the dissolve here and I will dissolve the geometry like that. But I still have a big face, strange one, but still have a big face here, okay? So the remove option can be very important to understand as well, because you don't have only the selection, the remove, and you remove the object. You have a few options to remove, okay? So for the selections here, it works more or less the same way. You can select more if you need here, select more, add to the selection, remove from the selection, okay? So yeah, it will be more or less the same way in object mode and in edit mode, okay? But for specific selections, like for example, let's add here a UV sphere like that. You will have different way of selecting here. You can select here, for example, a loop like this, okay? You can see that when you have some quads, and that's why it's important to model in quads, and I will talk about it later. What is a quad? It's a face with only 4 vertices, okay? Not more, not less. It's a quad. Now, if I select the loop, I can, because it's only quads. If I create some triangles there, maybe, okay, maybe I will take a selection like this or like that, and I will create some selection, and I have a little option there that helps me to make here with face here, the menu, we can make some triangulate faces, okay? So now if I try to select that loop, you can see that here at this point, it cannot follow because it doesn't understand when to continue, where to continue. So it will, yeah, maybe there, so it doesn't work. So yeah, that's why it's important to model in quads. So you have this kind of selection that is possible. You can select more with Ctrl plus, select less with Ctrl minus, okay? You can make a link between two points, like for example with Ctrl, you select the first one and you select the last one and it will select everything between the two. And you can add with the Shift, just add some selection like that, okay? So yeah, this is very important. The Alt key, select a loop. The Control key, select between two clicks, and here we have the shift to add. And you can make multiples like Alt and Shift Alt. Like this, you select more loops. When you have a selection like that, it can make very interesting shapes like this very easily, you see, because just with a scale, you have the possibility to manage this. So yeah, very important to know how to select loops, and yeah, that's why it was important this. The next thing is the different ways of manage here the faces. So you have different kind of faces here. You have the quads here. You have the triangles there, okay? And in some objects, I will just remove these two faces, these two vertices, and select the loop with Alt here and make a face with F, okay? So now we have here a handgun that is more than 4 vertices, and it can be a lot or less, but yeah, after 4 vertices it's an handgun. So there's different kind of faces will act differently when you select, when you make, for example, here, if I want to make a subdivision here, generate subdivision surface, you can see that in that area, it will not be as good as the rest, okay? So the subdivision will not work well here in that area. It will create a strange way to create faces here. So that's why it's important, especially when you model organic shapes, organic models, when you work on humans, when you work on animals, or yeah, everything that will deform or that you will want to smooth, it's important to model with quads especially. So yeah, mostly when you want to model in a good way, it's important to learn how to model with quads. That's why when you add a circle, for example, okay, let's add a circle. When you add a circle, it's always good to have an even number. Like for example, here I have 24 vertices. If I want to close this area, I can, but I can with quad, okay? And I have a specific shortcut for that. I can go to face here and use the grid fill menu, and it will give me only quads, okay? If I don't have an even number, it will not be quads. So it's very important to add always even number, yeah, except when you have a specific case that you really want something like a star, like a star with 5 arrows or something like that, okay? So that was another thing, and something that is important too, it's here, the menus that you have. So you have vertices, start with V, you have edges, start with E, you have faces, start with F, and you have the 3 menus that are here, vertex, edge, and face. You can call these menus directly with Control E, for example, for edges, Control V for vertices, and Control F for faces. And you will find a lot of options that are related to the faces here, for example, or Control E, everything that is related to the edges, and Control V, sorry, for the vertices. Okay, so here you have a lot of little tools that we will explore into the next videos. You can see that you have a lot of possibilities to create more geometry. I will show you how to create that. When you can have multiple you can have multiple here geometries inside one object. For example, here I have a sphere, but if I select this dot here and with Control plus I select more and I duplicate this part, okay, so now it looks that I have 2 objects, but actually no, all the geometry is it's inside the sphere, okay? So for example, here in object mode now I have only one object. I can separate objects, geometries into two objects if I need. For example, with L, now I can select here the parts that I want when they are not linked together. That's why it's L, it's linked geometry. And so now I can select this part with L and I can separate with P. P will separate the selection. And now I have my two objects here, okay? So it's important to understand that you can have multiple geometries, multiple volumes into one object. That's important. You can create an entire city, for example, or an entire car. It will have a lot of different geometries, different parts inside, but it can be one object. It's always good to separate, actually, to can manage easily maybe the materials, or yeah, it's always good to separate, but in specific case you can join everything together. So that's it for the introduction of the edit mode. You can go there as well. You can see that you have the modeling interface, and inside the modeling interface it will be very similar from the other from the layout, the classical layout here. It's just that you go directly into edit mode, into the selection, and the timeline disappears. So it's really focused on the modeling. So can help sometimes. Usually I like to keep the layout, and when I want to focus I hide a little this, like this. I can call it when I want, okay? And that's it for discovering the edit mode. Into the next video we will see the first part, because we have, as you can see, we have a lot of different tools here, and we will discover that into the next video. So I will have two parts for that. In this video, we'll have a look on the different tools that we have in edit mode. So first of all, the first one that is very important, it's the extrusion. So let's go for that, and I will select my cube here and use tab here to go in edit mode, and you can see that we have a tool, the extrude region. So for example, let's make a subdivision of this, and for that you just make a right click and use the subdivide option, and you can subdivide maybe 2 times like this, and you will have maybe a shape like that. So now I can go with 3 to select the face selection mode, and I can select there's 2 faces, for example. You can see that you have this tool here, and as usual, as I told you, I prefer to use shortcuts in Blender, because there's tools, they always disturb me into the 3D view actually. They are good, and in some cases I use them, but almost 90% of the time I don't go into these tools. I use shortcuts. Here is the extrusion. The shortcut is E for extrusion, okay? So if I just extrude this, it will extrude this. And what is an extrusion actually? It's a duplication of a geometry that keeps a link between the original geometry. Like for example, if I extrude here a vertex like that, it will duplicate the vertex and create a link between the two, okay? If I extrude an edge, it will duplicate the edge and create a link between the two, and now it will create a face, okay? And if I extrude a surface, it will extrude the surface and create a link between this and the original, and now it creates a volume, okay? So that's why it's important to understand what will happen when you extrude extrude a vertex, it will create an edge. When you extrude an edge or multiple edges, it will be a surface. And when you extrude a surface, it will be a volume that you will create. For example, if you start from maybe, I don't know, a plane, okay, let's say, and I will go into edges selection mode, I will just extrude with now I can add, because that's why I like to not use this actually and prefer to use the shortcut. It's that I can add the axis that I want. So I can extrude and add the X key. So EZ, it will go there. EY, it will go there. And now that I have a shape, okay, let's say this, I can select this maybe and extrude this and create a volume like that, okay? So very important to understand what's happening with the extrusion. The extrusion, you always use it in modeling, in polygonal modeling, it's always there. So very important to understand how it works. By default, when you have a face and you use the extrusion tool, it will go into the normal. What is normal? A normal, it's an invisible axis that is related to the face. Like for example, let's move this into the x-axis to have this kind of shape like that. Okay, so now we have a normal into that face, and the direction of it is there. Okay, it's this. And now if I make an extrusion into this, it will extrude into that direction by default. But if you don't want to use that, you can make an extrusion and put an axe that you want, okay? Or you can double the extrusion and make an extrusion and after move it, okay, where you want. So this is the original way of doing that. And to see the normals, you can have here the normals. So the normals of the faces, here you can see the direction directly here. And you can increase the size. It's only a view. It doesn't affect your modeling here. In object mode, you don't see it, for example. It's only in edit mode. It's just sometimes you make it appear to see where are the normals and which direction they have. Because they have only one direction. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding because the normals, they don't go inside the geometry usually. Okay, they go outside the geometry by default. And we will manage that later, but it's just to show you that when you make an extrusion by default, it will go into that direction. So this is important. Okay, you have here different tools that can be sometimes very efficient here, and different ways of make some extrusion. So I will add here a cube and I will subdivide it. Again, I will remove here the normals and I will now use another way of extruding. It's the extrude manifold. So sometimes if you extrude there just with the shortcut, not with this tool, you will go inside, for example, because you can go inside, but see, you have this geometry that you don't want. The extrude manifold, it's this, it's that it will remove directly what you don't want. So for example, I can extrude that way as well. And now I have this kind of behavior. So very efficient way to doing this, because before we had to remove the geometry and this tool didn't exist actually. You have the extrude along normals, so that's the original way of doing this. You have the extrude individuals. So the extrude individuals, we can see it a little more with a sphere, maybe. Let's go there. And if you extrude everything with this, So you test these two, you see that it will extrude individual faces like that. So it can be very good to create some little shapes like this. What you can do as well is you can go there into the individual origins, and let's say you extrude a little more. Okay, and you scale it now. You see you will scale individual faces. And again, you can extrude there. And you can create like that very interesting shapes directly without too much troubles, okay? So here, with this activated, you can manage this kind of shape easily. You have the extrude to cursor that is very interesting as well, because here you can see that if I select, for example, this, and come back to this tool, so now I can just extrude like that, very easily, very efficiently, to create things, okay? So yeah, can be very good. You will tell me how we join this part. For example, we want to come back here and we want to join this part, for example, there. And you create a shape like that. Now I would like to join this too. So you have to remove, first of all, the faces that will be inside to have a good geometry, okay? And now you can make your faces. So for example, you can make it manually and select 1, 2, 3, 4, and make F like this, okay? And make it all the way inside, all the way around. But you can select this loop and this loop. Okay, now you have these two loops that are available, and go into the edge menu and search for where is it now? Bridge edge loops. And now it will bridge them together. And now we have an entire geometry, okay? So yeah, can be very efficient. We will use that when we will make some exercises. So it was the extrude tool here. By default, just E, it works well. Okay, so we have the inset face as well. So you can see that when you have, for example, here, selection like this, and that you want to create a border here on this selection. So you could make ES, for example. You make an E and a scale, and it will create a kind of border. But when you have something that is more complicated, like for example, a selection like that, okay, when you make ES, it will scale the entire, and the border is not even, it doesn't work. So what we want to do here is use the inset. So the inset face will create a border directly like this. And you have some options. You have the possibility to select the outside if you need. You have to go outside. You can go outside if needed as well. And you can select offset relative. So it's relative to the size of the face. And you can manage, still come back to the thickness and put a proper value here. And you can manage the depth as well. It can go outside or inside. So very, very powerful tool here that we have, okay? And you can use the individual as well. You can see that it can make this on all the faces if needed. So yeah, this is a very, very common tool as well. So this, the inset face, very, very important. Another very important one is the bevel. I will just erase that. Okay. And I will add here, for the bevel, I will use maybe the cube, okay? So the bevel tool, what it will make, it will create a cut on an angle that is here. Like for example, here we have 90 degrees angle. So if I make a bevel there into that edge, okay, it will create a bevel like that, okay? So by default, it will just cut only one at 45 degrees because it was 90 degrees. No, it's 2 times 45 degrees. And here I can work with edges or vertices as well. You can see that here we have the possibility to cut only vertices. So to make a dice, for example, you select everything, you make the bevel here, you select vertices, and you have the shape that you want. Oops, sorry, I made it again. Okay, select vertices, manage the size you want. Good, perfect. What you can do as well with the bevel tool, and as usual, I prefer to use shortcuts for inset as well. I didn't tell you, but the shortcut is Y. You can see sometimes it tells you here you have bar shortcut shift space bar or Y. Okay, and here the bevel is Control B. So Control B, it will make the same here. And I can come back to the options as well. But I can manage it directly with my mouse and the shortcut. So I will show you that. I will remove this tool here and use it directly there. So now if I make Control B, it will make this. But if I increase during I move the tool like that, if I increase the mouse here scroll, it will create that. Okay, so it can be very good to have an arc like this, very important. And now I can come back here with different options. I can use the profile shape, inside, outside, squarish, just a little. So very good this. I can play here with the number of segments. So it's the same here. And I can manage here, for example, we have by default, we have super ellipse, but we can use custom. And what is good with customs is that you can make your own shape. Just draw it like that, and it will create the shape that you want. So yeah, very efficient way to manage this tool. I come back to super ellipse because it's something that we use often. So yeah, for even for maybe furnitures or something like that, they are never always sharp. Even when it's a little sharp, if you look closely, there is always a little bevel, and if there is not this bevel, your scene will not look real because there are always some little reflections on these edges, and it's always there around us actually. So it's always good to add a little bevel in the end of your modeling. And with Control B like that, you just add just a little, okay? You don't put a lot, just like that, and now you will have this kind of shape. So be careful because this is totally destructive, and now you will have 3 vertices instead of only 1 to manage. So yeah, here you can see that it will be more complicated now to manage the object, but it's something you can add in the end of your modeling. But usually for that we use the modifiers, because there is a modifier for beveling here. What is good with this tool in edit mode is to create big ones, for example, to create new shapes. Like for example, let's say I will make kind of sci-fi shape here, okay, just like that. Use Control B and Control B, and now you will have something that is more interesting than before. Maybe I will scale it here, scale this into the y-axis, and put this a little here into the x-axis now. And now you have a different shape. This shape is interesting. For example, I could insert it now, make an extrusion, and you can see that you will have a lot of options here. So I could extrude that one as well into the x-axis, and maybe put now this edge over there. Okay, and again, I can just use this to create new shapes and everything. So it could be a lot of things already. So yeah, very good to add some details and to create new shapes. Like for example, maybe I would like to cut that one. I make a Control B, just like this. Okay, maybe a GX like that. So now we have an interesting shape. We could make maybe something really, really like sci-fi shapes with that very easily. So there's 3 tools already are very, very important. And we have the loop cuts here. The loop cuts, it's one that you have to use as well. Let's add a cylinder for that. And maybe I will go into edit mode and scale it into the Z axis like this. And me, what I would like is to create a new shape. Like for example, maybe a shape that looks like this. Okay. And what I want to do for that, what I need to do for that is add some geometry, because now I don't have these lines that could allow me to make this. So what I will do, I will add this shape, this geometry, and I will just make SZ, go there, and with the loop cut, you can go around here and it will give you the loop cuts that you can manage. What I like to do is call it with Control R. Control R, it's the loop cut here. So when you call your loop cut option, you go around your geometry and it will give you the lines here directly. When you have the line that suits you, you can add more with the scroll of your mouse. For example, like that. Maybe I would like to add some. Or you can put a number, like for example 8 or 88. So Control R, you add your number or you scroll the mouse and you make a first click. The first click will give you the possibility to slide the geometry if needed, or you keep it at 0 and you can call 0 to put it in the center, and now you have your geometry. Now you have your loops that are available and you scale them the way you want now, okay? So you have different possibilities. And that's why it's very important. Or for example, let's make a table very easy with that. So for example, we have a cube, we go in edit mode and I make a Z, okay? Same way like I did to make the modeling of the table. But now I will create everything in one surface. So what I will do, I will Control R here 2 times, okay? Scale it into the x-axis. Control R, oops, 2 times, sorry. Scale it into the y-axis. So now I have the 3 here parts. I can still slide the geometry if needed by doing G and GG 2 times, and it will slide the geometry if needed, okay? Or I can select this and make again SX to make it bigger and SY to make it bigger as well. Now I have these 4 here faces that I can use to make an inset, for example. And now I can extrude that, very simple. And look, we have the shape of the table perfectly, but now it's only one geometry and one object, okay? So it will be very easy to create shapes like this. There is not only one way of doing a shape. Like for example, maybe this table, I could add different options, or I could use different tools to have exactly the same shape. There is not only one way of modeling, but it's good to follow the ways I tell you in the beginning. Like this, you can have your own way after. And the 2 little here tools that we didn't see yet are very powerful as well. I will add a cube for that to show you that. So these are available in object mode directly, and you can create object with that. You can create a shape here very easily to create a cube or a cylinder. Okay, cylinder shape, or a sphere. Okay, and yeah, it can be sometimes efficient. I don't use this tool too much, but one that I like, and it was added not far ago, it's the box carve. So you can use it in edit mode, in object mode, but I like to use it in edit mode actually because it works in edit mode as well. So what I will do, I will just select everything I did add here and remove it, and we will go in edit mode there. So what is good is that you can carve your object just like that. Very easily, very powerful. And to create shapes, honestly, it's very, very good. So you can create carving just like this. It will carve from the view that you want. So it's important to understand that. And here you can create some circle carve as well. So it will create a circle like this. You can here select that. Okay. So again, very good option, very good tool to create some carving. And again, you can use here the polyline carve. The polyline carve, you will draw a shape that is interesting for you. And here you select the first one and it will carve it directly. So can be very, very good for that. And you can really create interesting shapes. The limitation of that is that it creates a lot of handguns here that you will have to manage and clean to have a good topology. But yeah, this tool is for just create shapes that you have in mind very quickly. Yeah, it's very good. Like for example, let's add a cube here, and maybe we would like to use this polyline here, and we will create some interesting shapes like that. So let's go for that. Maybe we'll go here and create the first one like this. Okay, a first one like this. I come back to the first. Okay, it will create this kind of shape. What is good too is that with everything selected, you can go to mesh here and you have a symmetrize. So the symmetrize, if you choose the right here for positive X to negative X here, you will have the symmetrize option directly. So very, very good. Here I will take maybe this and add one there, maybe. Okay, and let's create a shape like that. And come back to the first. Okay, and again you come back to mesh symmetrize and you have a more complex shape. And maybe here I would like another one, like for example something like that. Okay, so let's go for it and do something here. Okay, let's go. Good. So we have something very, very powerful. Again, maybe I would like to cut this part. So you have to select everything to make it work. Maybe I would like to cut this part. Okay, good. So I have an interesting shape now. Again, I can go to mesh and use the symmetrize option. And now I have maybe a shape that I can use and start to work with. Maybe here, for example, now I have an interesting shape and I will use the normal selection tool and maybe make an extrusion, okay, an SZ to create maybe a spaceship or something like that. Maybe this part as well will be more above. Okay, good. Now we can extrude this as well into the y-axis. And you can invert the scale by make a SY here and go above to continue and go and have this kind of shape like this. Maybe make a Y and an extrusion. Good. Make a Y as well here. And an extrusion, just to have this kind of shape. Again, the same here, Y, an extrusion. And now we have an interesting shape, let's say. We could add a cut there. And maybe make a new shape with that. Okay, so maybe I will select that one and put it into the y-axis like this, and select this face now and make an extrusion and scale it. Good. So now that I have this shape that I find good, let's say, I select everything and I make symmetrize. Okay, so we can really create some nice shapes directly, very quickly. Okay, so to continue with these tools, we will go there, here, with the cube again. Here we will continue with these tools, with the poly build here, the spin, and all the rest of the tools that we have here. And like this, we will see the entire tools list. And after, we can start some exercises, like we will model a mug, but in edit mode, we will model headphones. And like this, you can really see the power of the tools. In this video, we'll discover the rest of the tools that we have in edit mode. So first of all, here we have the knife tool. You can call it with K. So the knife tool, basically it cuts, it adds some geometry like a knife, okay? Like for example, if here I use the K here, you can see that I can draw directly some shapes like that, and it will create the geometry that will follow my cut, okay? You have different options in there. So you see that when you call the option with K, you have different here options that you can see. You have the angle constraint, though, so you can activate it with A. So for example, here, if I don't have the angle constraint, it will just cut really like that, okay? But if I activate it, now it will be with 30 degrees. You can see that you can manage here the 30 degrees, and you can here, for example, cut with 90 degrees like that, and you are sure that it will follow this angle, okay? So it can be useful sometimes to have this one. Another one that is useful, I will go, and if you make the mistake, you can use escape and you will exit from this mode, okay? So with K, I come back to my knife, and I can use as well the cut through, okay? For example, you see if I make a cut like that, it will cut just in front of me. But sometimes I need to make a cut all around the object, So what I do here through the object, so I will call my knife here with K, and then after I will use C, cut through, the option cut through here. And when I do that, I will have here the possibility to cut, as you can see, along the geometry, just like this, okay? So K again, I start from here, I use the C here, I cut through the geometry, and basically it adds one more. It works better with here, for example, a cylinder. Here, if I cut without this, okay, it will cut just in front of me. And if I cut with the cut through here activated, okay, you can see that now I did cut all along the geometry. So can be useful sometimes. You have the possibility to use little options after you cut, like for example, if I make a K like that, okay, and enter, I can come back into my last operation here with F9 here, knife topology tool. No, it doesn't give me this. You can play with it with this tool here. you have the knife tool and you have the bisect tool as well. So the bisect tool here will cut the geometry directly like that, okay? Especially if you have the right tool here. So let's say I can cut like this, okay? And I can remove, follow the angle here if I need, and I can clear the inner or clear the outer. So that's why it's very interesting, and you can feel what you did cut as well. So sometimes can be useful, even if now with this tool Polyline Carve, you have something very similar and very efficient. So that's it for the knife, can be useful sometimes. What we can do now is see a little the poly build. The poly build here, it's something that I don't use that much here, honestly, but sometimes can be useful. So maybe I will add a sphere for that. Or maybe with a plane, it will be easier to show you that. So, okay, let's go there. And now you can see that when you select here your object in edit mode, you have the different possibilities. It highlights the edges in blue. So it's kind of extrude mode like that. Oops, sorry. Up. You can see that I can just extrude by click and drag. And with the control click, I can make triangles like this, okay? And it will give me new shapes very easily. So for example, if I want a new triangle from here, okay, and a new triangle from there, okay, I can, and now I can build my shape if needed, okay? So I can make interesting shapes just like this. Honestly, with the extrusion tool, I prefer to work with because, yeah, this one is not really efficient in my opinion for modeling, but yeah, you can try yourself. So I will not spend a lot of time on this, and let's go with a cylinder now. I will select maybe 24 to not have too much vertices, and go in edit mode now with tab, and we will select the spin tool. So the spin tool will make an extrusion along an arch. So you can select the axis that you want, okay? So let's say I will select this one, and by default, it will go around the 3D cursor. So you can, for example, go in front view here and select shift right click to tell that the 3D cursor will be here, okay? Then you have your selection here in edit mode, okay? And then you just drag like this, and it will give you an arch. So very good to model, for example, all the pipes, joints, or things like that, okay? So shift click, you put the right localization of the 3D cursor, and then after you just drag like that, okay? Very efficient. And you can come back, add more subdivisions, for example, if you want 32 to have more, something more circular. You can select the angle, so now it's 180, but I can choose 90, for example, and come back with less. So yeah, very efficient one to make some curves into a pipe or something like that. Very good one. Okay, but it can be used in architecture as well. For example, if you have some pillars like this, let's make a pillar here with a cube, okay? I will put my object in the center, so I will make S Shift Z to make a kind of shape of pillar here, and then I will just drag here my object there in edit mode, so the 3D cursor can be in the center. And then I select the top here, go in front view, and put 180 degrees by just select the right localization, okay? So I select the face here, good, and make 180. Put the number that you want here, that you need, and you have an arch very easily, okay? negative 180, sorry. And now you can extrude back the last one here into the z-axis. And to be sure that these two will have the same localization, let's say you have this, for example, and you want the two have the same localization into the z-axis. What you can do in that case, you can go and select everything in wireframe view and make a SZ0 like this. Everything will be in the same localization into the z-axis. And now you can put your arch on the ground and you have everything you need. Okay, so it can be useful for this kind of task as well. Okay, then what we will have is the smooth. So the smooth will have a shortcut for that. It's a smooth vertices like this. I use it often when I want to smooth a part that I did model, usually with organic shapes. Okay, so let's say I will have here a monkey that I will subdivide with Control 2, and I will Control 1 maybe, might be enough. Okay, and I will apply this. When I apply a modifier here, I have the geometry enabled there. Okay, so what I do usually when I model organic shapes like that, and let's say I would like to close this geometry. Okay, so I will remove these faces. Good. And now I would like to come back with something that will have the same shape globally, okay? And to have a smooth part here. So if I just make a face here, okay, it might work, and after add with the knife the geometry that you need, okay? Let's make one like that, and with the knife like this, we will make the one that we need here. So we have quads here, enter. We need just one here, another one, yeah. But it's not really the shape that I want. So what I do usually, I select just the center like this, and with J, I put it above the geometry. And then I use the smooth option. So I can use this tool here, and you can see that it will smooth just like that. But what I do usually, I don't use that tool again, I use the smooth option there. And what is good is to repeat the smooth with Shift R. And now look at that. You have something that is perfectly aligned with the rest of the geometry. And that has a nice smooth curve here. So that's why it can be very useful. You can repeat the action in case you want. So for example, you can put more and it will smooth directly without using Shift R like I did to repeat the operation. Okay, so this one very handy, especially in organic shapes. Very, very efficient for that. Here you have the edge slide. The edge slide is simple. If you have, for example, a cube here and SX, okay. So for example, let's say you have you add with Control R a new cut here, okay, and you would like to move this edge here, but to move along the geometry. Like for example, if I move it now, it will change all the geometry. Me, I want to move along the geometry, so to slide this curve, to slide this edge. So what I will do, I will use G and G again. You can see that G moves freely, and if I use G again, it will slide the geometry. So yeah, again, that one not really interesting because just with the shortcut with GG you will have it directly. And again, this one works with vertices, GG, okay, and not that one. So you have to select vertex slide and edge slide just with GG. It will work whatever you have selected, even a loop, an entire loop, GG, and you will slide your geometry like that. So yeah, can be useful sometimes, actually. We have the shrink here, fatten. So it's different from scale. What I could show you here is when you add a geometry like that, okay, and you extrude it, and you scale it. Good. So me, I would like to scale to make it fatten in that case. And you can see that when I just use the S option, the scale, it will scale into that direction as well. Okay, so now this line here is bigger than the one that was here before. Okay, so what I prefer to do in that case is to use the shrink and fatten. So I will make Ctrl Z a few times until I got there. So now I have the extrusion that is made, but with the right click I did put it in the center, okay? And now I can use the shrink fatten option. You can see that it will keep the right one, and you can make it in that case like this, for example. So very efficient to add some geometry, some nice shapes. For example, let's say you want to add some geometry like that. Okay, and maybe with GG I will slide that one and add another cut like that. Okay, and with GG I slide that one again just a little to have something that works. Perfect. And now I will have this loop here that I can select just like this, going into the corner here, and I have this loop of faces. So if I make an extrusion, okay, and make Alt S, that is the shortcut for shrink and fatten, I can make some interesting shape like this, okay, as you can see. So can be very useful to create geometry to extrude inside and outside without changing the geometry too much. Okay. For example, it works well with subdivision surface as well. Like for example, if you have here a UV sphere, good. Add a modifier, generate subdivision surface. So now I can add maybe a loop over there. Select the two loops and extrude it. Make Alt S. So you can see that now I will have this kind of shape, very common one in organic, let's say, sci-fi shapes. If I make a shade smooth here, you will have something very interesting. And what is good with this, if you take it back and make an extrusion again and Alt S this time into the other, in outside, so with shrink fatten, so it's fatten, this one. Now you have this kind of shape that can be very interesting as well. So yeah, or for example, maybe you have a selection with a shape, interesting shape that you want to keep, let's say something like that, okay? And this you could make, for example, a Y to have a border. I don't want individual, I just want the border. I want to select the outset, to select the outer, and now I can use an extrusion and make Alt S again. And as you can see, it will draw interesting shapes just like this. It can be outside, it can be inside, and sometimes you just remake an extrude and an Alt S, and at this point it creates this kind of shape. Very interesting as well. So yeah, the shrink fatten here, it's very good to add some details after an extrusion. Yeah, very powerful one as well. You have the shear, so the shear, as the name tells it, here when you have a selection like this, for example, you would like to keep the selection here, so you can manage here a shear with this kind of option. You can see that it's not the same than rotate. If I go there and make Ctrl Z, if I make a rotation, I lose my shape here, okay? So it's not straight anymore. And what the shear can help us to do is you make the same but keep the shape. So very interesting. Or you can do that with, for example, with a cylinder there. If you want to use that, you want to have 45 degrees angle here. You put it like that, and you will not lose your shape. That's what is interesting for it. So if it's not degrees, but it's an offset here. So if you put 1, it will be 45 degrees, okay? And at that point, what is good is that I can extrude into the x-axis, and now I have a corner that is perfect, okay? Now I can put it back by doing the same way, not this way, but that way, okay? And here I come back to 1, and it will give me the perfect shape I want, okay? So can be useful sometimes to make some right shapes here. And with this loop now, with Control B, you can make a bevel or something that is smoother, okay? So yeah, these tools are always useful. And the last one, finally, is easy to understand, that one with the UV sphere. Okay, you just select a part somewhere, and then you can just open the geometry. So be careful, because it creates often triangles, but if you want to fill it back here, it will be with triangles, I guess. Or strange geometry anyway. So yeah, it has its limitation, but sometimes it can be useful to open a geometry that is closed. For example, let's say you have a mouth that is not well done for now, and you want to open it. It can be a start for continued modeling. So yeah, this is another possibility here of add some geometry here by opening a geometry that is closed. So that's it for all these tools. You can see that it's already a lot to manage and to understand. That's why we will make some little exercises. The first exercise that we make is the cup, the mug, and so we will model that again and again, and still it starts to be natural for you. And then after, we will continue with more complex shapes like headphones. In this video, we'll have a look at the proportional editing tool here. So here we have Victor that I did download from the demo files for Blender here into the asset bundles. Here you have the human base meshes, and you can download human parts or even entire human bodies. You have realistic and toon style, so very good to make some experiments, and even to have a base mesh to start modeling or to start a new character very easily. So yeah, you can download this and have a look at it. But yeah, for this one I have just the bust of it, and here I will hide it because at first I would like to show you how to use this tool. Okay, so here is a new collection, and I will add here a new mesh. This mesh will be a grid. Good. The grid is a plane that is subdivided here. So what we will do, we'll just subdivide this with 100 to have enough subdivision, a real dense grid like that. Okay, I will go into orthographic view, and I will activate here my tool in edit mode. So now that I am in edit mode, and I can here use that tool, when I select one vertex like that and make GZ, we can see the result here. So without the tool, it will make this. Just one vertex is moving. And now, if I move, I have a kind of proportional zone outside. I can use here the scroll of the mouse to increase here the zone, okay? The zone size. So here I can select multiple at once and they will have an influence like this. So very easily to make kind of little maybe hills like that, okay? And you can select more very easily, just a few ones, and make something more little maybe. Okay, and you will start to have a kind of landscape very easily, just like that in a few clicks. Okay, so you can even make some mountains. You select some on top like this, and you will increase just even more. Okay, so yeah, can be very useful to make this kind of modeling. But if I come back and make Ctrl Z a few times, if I have enough Ctrl Z, maybe not enough. So what I will do, I will select everything and make SZ at 0 and put back everything very straight like that into the Z axis. So what I can do now, I can show you all the options that we have here. So first of all, we have the connected only and the projected from view. We will see that with Victor here after. And here we have the different proportional editing options that we have. So it will change the influence. For example, if I use sphere, I will show you smooth first. Okay, make it easy like that. And after you have the sphere. And depending on what you want to do into your mesh, you will have a lot of possibilities like that to create the shape that suits you, okay? So this was the sharp here. You have the linear that make a straight line just like that. Okay. You have the constant, it takes everything inside the zone. And you have the random here that moves everything randomly. Can be useful sometimes to create some noise somewhere or yeah, things like that. So this is a very powerful tool, especially if you work with organic models. Okay, it will really help to manage that. So let's work a little with Victor here, and let's go inside edit in edit mode inside Victor. And now you can see that if I use the tool smooth here, I have an option to use the X symmetry or not. So if I use X symmetry, everything that I move here will move into the other side, okay? So it can be very useful to change the expression, for example. If I want him a little more angry, maybe I can put this there with cheesy, okay? So now he's not really happy. Maybe put more like this, okay? Not bad. Okay, so now you see that he is angry. And maybe I could put the mouse like that, but you can see that sometimes this one, the smooth one, is not really the best for moving the corner of the mouse like that. Maybe I will use the sharp, and you can see it makes better job. Okay. So now we did change here we did change the face. So we can come back to the original, okay, by make Ctrl Z, or you can even store this into something that is here, and it's called the shape keys. So for example, let's add shape key just like that. It works in object mode at first, and you have the basis and the key, okay? You will put the key at 1 and go inside. So now what we do is changing the shape of the key here. So let's go there. and change that like I did, okay? And maybe put this one here with the sharp and just the corner like that. Yeah, he is not happy. Maybe a little here in the nose. Yeah, he's really not happy. He's even a little aggressive now. So what we have here is something that we can change, as you can see with the slider now, okay? We can call this angry. And what we can do, we can add another one, okay? And maybe we will call it happy. Let's go there. We put it at 1, we go in edit mode, and now it will be happy. So it will be happy. So let's go with something more open with the eyes, okay? And maybe with a big smile like this, with a sharpness here. Oh yeah, he's far more happy there. Maybe a little in the nose, just like that. So yeah, now he looks happy. Good. So you can change now from happy to normal and to angry, okay? And you can even sometimes blend two at once. Like for example here, if I want to close the eyes, I will maybe use this one here and I will add another one. Okay, I will call it blink. And now I will just start to move here. It has to be 1 or it will not work. So, and it's there that you see, when you move, you have the top that is moving too, and it's not really what we want here. We want only the bottom. So what we will do here, we will use the connected only. It means that only the connected face and only the connected vertices here will be influenced by this tool now. So it means that if I move, the top will not move. And this is what I want, actually. Okay, so it goes a little inside the eye. So inside view, I can put it back here, somewhere like that. And I will make the same with the top, okay? And I will start to blink, start to close the eye, the entire eye. I use always the right size to be sure that it works well. Okay. So now we have something like that, okay? Maybe I will put it a little higher, everything. So I can take both at once and maybe a little lower actually. This side, I'm not happy with it. It's not really realistic here. It looks a little better already. Good. So we have the eyes. So now we can be angry with the eye closed or open or maybe half open. And you can make the same with happy and with the eye closed. So yeah, you can really play with this with the shape keys. It helps really to store the expressions and to store the where are the vertices at this point. So it can be very useful to use both tools, the proportional editing one and the shape key here to help you like that. So you did see that it works, for example, the link one. Let's say, for example, when you use here the connected only tool, like for example, let's say you have maybe a separate part, like here, we will just duplicate that with Shift D and extrude that. So it's a separate geometry, okay? Good, so now we have this. To be sure that you want to move both, you select this, for example, and if you want to select this part here and this part here, if you want to have an influence on both, you will use the connected without the connected only, okay? And at this point, it will move everything like that. But if not, you will just use the connected only tool and it will work only with this part. So that's why it's very important to understand that. I just remove this part. You have here the other option, and maybe I will come back to the basis. You have the other option here. It's the projected from view. So it's different from the first one. So maybe I come back to angry here and manage angry only. And as you see here, if I enable that and remove this one, okay. Now, if I just move like that, you will see that all the vertices here will be affected into that view. So it's a little different from this behavior, okay? So yeah, I don't use this one that much, but yeah, the connected only and all these options here are really, really useful and handy. So that's it for this video. I save you this into the source files for sure. And in the next video, we will make our first real exercise in edit mode, into edit mode modeling. We will make the mug. In this video, we will have our first real exercise, so we will make the mug here. So first of all, I will add a circle. This circle, I will put a number of 24 vertices. So why I choose this number? First of all, it's even. So yeah, it's important to have an even number on this if I want to model on quads. And here, if you take, for example, 12 here, you will not have enough vertices to make a right circle here. So you have to choose something that looks really circular from far. So it's, even if you use after, for example, a subdivision surface that then can help you to smooth everything like this, it's always good to have enough vertices to start. So let's go in edit mode for this, and in front view, orthographic view, we will make an extrusion into the z-axis, okay? Maybe it will be -3, okay? And we will have this shape here. Good. Now I would like to close this part because it will be the bottom here. So what I will do here, I will make an extrusion and ES will make an extrusion and a scale directly at once. So I go maybe somewhere here. I always let here a pure loop of quads. It's always better before closing the geometry, okay? So even sometimes I add 2 more. So what I do that, I show you why actually, because it's important. If I have a modifier subdivision surface and hide it for the moment, I will make the first option. The first option is close everything directly here. I could do, for example, F, but if I activate this, you see the shape, it looks totally crazy. So, and it's not a quad. If I make a quad here, if I make only quads here, I have the option to use Control F to call the face menu and go there and use the grid fill. But you see here, it's not perfect. You have a kind of squarish shape here mixed with a circle, so not really work for what we want. So what I do here in that case, I just make ES and sometimes even 2 times to have really a security here, something like that. And now I can close the shape with Control F Grid Fill. Now, when I look at it from the bottom with Control Numpad here, Control 7, sorry, here I will have the possibility to use the offset and align everything to have the right axis here. So now it looks good. And now if I add a modifier generate subdivision surface, you see that my shape is far better here. So that's why I do that actually, to close the shape here. I always let here a quad loop, an entire quad loop. So let's go there now. I will hide this again. Let's go there on top and make a ES, and it will be the border of here my mug. Okay. Now in front view and in wireframe view with Z, I can just extrude into the Z axis and go until there. I want some thickness, so I keep the thickness like that. Okay. Now, if I look at it into solid view, I can see that I have here my shape that is not finished. So I will make exactly the same than the bottom. ES, ES again, and Control F Grid Fill. Always use the offset to see the axis that is well aligned here. So now we have the shape of our body, but we would like to have a handle here, a little handle. So, and I don't want to use the Boolean tool. I would like to have an entire shape, an entire surface that will create the volume with only quads into that shape. And it will be important to smooth the geometry with this subdivision modifier here. So let's add here a torus inside the geometry. So it will be inside of our object here. Here we have the major segment, minor segment here. I will choose 6, always an even number, okay. I will choose here maybe something like 24. It might be enough for what we want. And with that shape here, I will make I will remove that and make a RX, so rotation into the x-axis 90 degrees. Like this I will have that shape. Now I move it here into wireframe view. I remove what I don't need, so all these vertices here I can remove it with X or with delete. With L, so it's select the linked vertices. You will see that you will have a lot to handle into that tutorial at first, but I really recommend you to make it again and again. It will help you to have the strong basics. So now I have this shape here, and I would like to align it with the mug like this. So it will be somewhere here to have a nice mug. Good. Here, I cannot really close the geometry here without adding geometry into that part. I need more geometry into this part here. Okay, so what I will do, I will use the loop, the adding loop tool here, that is here with Control R. You see that it will give me a line, and this line I will move it there. You have two options here. You put 2 times like this, okay, or you put 1 time a line there, and with Control B you make 2. It works too. Both will make the same thing here, and that's really something to understand with 3D modeling. You can make the exact same shape with totally different things. For example, to make that shape here, I could add a circle and use the spin tool to make a full rotation like that. So yeah, you have a lot of possibilities to make really the entire same shape, the exact same shape. So let's go there. And now I would like, so you see that we have here an hexagon here, hexagon shape. So I will make more or less the same like this. I will can close the geometry easier. So I select these two vertices, and with S, I create this kind of same shape here. And I will make the same here. Okay, good, perfect. Now I can select there's four faces and make here the holes that will receive the geometry. So what we can do now to close this, we did see that already, but I show you again. We can make faces manually just by make F and 1, 2, 3, 4, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, F, and it's long because you make a lot of clicks here. And if you, so it works well, but you make a lot of clicks. What you can do is something more quick. So you can select the first loop and with Shift Alt click the second loop. And now you have the two loops that are selected. And now you can use Ctrl E here to use the bridge head loop. And what it will give you, it will create a geometry between the two loops. The limitation of this is that you need to have the same number of vertices. So for example, let's say if I have, here I did choose 6, okay, for example. But if I have not 6 vertices here, but 8 or 12 or something else, what I do in that case? In that case, you can create more geometry. For example, here, I will have a loop of 10 vertices now. So I can use a loop of 10 here if needed. And yeah, if you don't have the same number of vertices in the other side, it will not work well and it will create some triangles. So for example, here I have 8, here I have 6, Ctrl E bridge edge loops, it will create something crazy. It even doesn't work in that case. So yeah, it's always better to have the same number of vertices to make it work well. And now you have something that works perfectly. What you can do, for example, to align this, you have two solutions. I show you both like this. You see a little how it works. You can select here everything, and you can move into the x-axis, for example, to align things. But maybe you want a bigger handle like that, but you don't want these big shapes here. So what you can do in that case, you add a loop there, slide it until here, and move it here. Add a loop there, slide it until here, and move it here. So Ctrl R, slide it, and G to move it. And now you have something that is really well aligned. Okay? So now if you want more organic shape, because now it's really sharp everywhere, and if you drink coffee there, you will hurt your lips. So what we will do, we will add some roundness here. To make this, it's very simple. You select the loop that you want to add some roundness, and you make Ctrl B. We will not add a lot of vertices, maybe 2 or 3. Okay, you can come back with these values here with the segment. So how I did that, I repeat how it works. Ctrl B, I slide like that. Okay, and you will have this. And I can increase with the scroll of my mouse the number of vertices that I add here. I don't want too much because I will have the subdivision that will help me to have something perfectly smooth here anyway. So I will make the same here. It's just to add a little more roundness here. I will make the same here. Perfect. And I can even make it here to have a nice join here. See, something like that. And make the same there. And now we have something that looks already better. If now I activate my subdivision surface, you can see that it smooths everything very well. And if I increase the level, it even looks better. So now I have my mug that is almost finished. We have 3 things that we need to do, even 4, but 3 things that are really important to make after each modeling. When you model in edit mode something, you always make these 3 things. The first one, it's very easy. It's rename your object. Never forget that. After you will have a complete mess here. If you model a lot, you will have circle 001, circle 002. Rename your objects. It's very important. So let's go here and call it mug. The second thing, in edit mode, so it's a concept that I did show you already, but I want to make sure that you understand it. It's the normals. The normals has to be oriented into the exterior. Okay, so it's well oriented now, but it could be sometimes like that. I show you how can it be. Let's say I will hide this and select this with L. Okay, and I show you how it can be sometimes. I will make and I will put it inside. Okay, sometimes it can be like that. And you see that the subdivision surface doesn't work well here. And here we see that we see the normals there, but we don't see the normals here. And actually they are there, but they are inside. You see that they are inside the geometry. And when you invert the modeling or make a wrong scale or something like that, it can happen to have this. So always important to select everything and use Shift N to recalculate the normals outside. Shift N after each modeling, very important. So, and after, sometimes you don't even need to display the normals. It's just to show you how it works and why it's important to make it well. And sometimes too, when you make an extrusion, it can happen that you leave it here. Okay, you make an extrusion, you leave it here, and okay, and maybe you start doing something else. But actually here there are not one vertex. There is not one vertex. There are 2. Okay, and it can be a problem after to make subdivision or to make other things like 3D printing or things like that when you export for other softwares, or after when you make your shaders in Blender, it will not work well. So what we do, we select everything and you use M. M is merge the vertices, and you merge by distance. So it creates a very, very low distance, 0.00001 meter. And each vertices that are here that are very close to each other will create only 1. Okay, so here if I do this here, you can see that it did remove 48 vertices. So like this, I have my mug that is cleaned. So rename, use the normals here, and merge the vertices by distance. The 3 things that are important when you finish modeling. And the last thing, it really depends on what you did actually, but you see that we still see the faces here, and maybe we would like something completely smooth. So what you can do, you can use the right click on your object in object mode and use the shade smooth. You can see that you have 3 options here. You have the shade flat, so the one that you have by default. You have the shade smooth, the one that smooths your object. And it's not the geometry that is smoothed, okay? It's just the surface showing differently. The object is really exactly the same, okay? It's just a way of showing it. And here you have another option that is the auto smooth. It adds a modifier to tell us something like that, for example. Like, let's add a cylinder to show you this last option. And what I will do, I will just select that and extrude it there and extrude it there. Okay, and extrude it there into the z-axis and extrude it again, but with something maybe with a lower angle, just like that. Okay, so what we have this shape, and if you use the auto smooth here, it will smooth from an angle here. So you see that this angle is smoothed, this one not, because it's above 30 degrees and this one not. And if you increase that, it will at a moment smooth everything, or at a moment unsmooth the one here. Yeah, so you see that it creates a different visualization. So can be very useful as well to create low poly things and have something that looks good into your scene here. Okay, so I just it was just to show you this option. And after, something that is good too is manage here the origin point of the mug. So what I do in that case, I can just, you can do it in edit mode or in object mode. It makes exactly the same in the end. So what I want is my origin here, there. So what I do, I just move this into the object mode to put it right there into the ground, okay? And I make Control A, apply location, and like this, it will go there. Okay, it was the first option to make this. You have a second option if you want to make it in edit mode. It's very easy as well. You have your origin point, and what is good in edit mode is that the origin point doesn't move. So if you go in edit mode and move everything like that, okay, it's done, and you have the same. Okay, so it's two different ways of making it. Sometimes it's more handy to use the first one, sometimes it's better to use the second one, but mostly I do it in edit mode, because like that I'm sure that this stays in the at center. Okay, and now you have the mug that is well modeled. I really recommend you to make it and make it again until you don't think about the shortcuts, until you don't think too much about the tools you use, and until it goes naturally. Okay, then after you can make, for example, different shapes. Here we have a simple mug. Maybe you want to make an espresso coffee cup, something like that. Maybe you want to make a bowl, or a lot of variations are possible with this. And I will show you how to model more complex stuff for sure. But this one, it's really a good one to repeat and to experiment with, because it's not that complicated, and it gives you already strong basics. So that's it for this video with the mug. My cat is calling me, sorry, and we go with the headphones into the next video. In this video, we will model headphones. So you can use image references to play with that. I will just model by instinct a little, but it will show you how it works mostly. And we will see how to add image references in Blender, but in case you want to use image references into your 3D view, you can use it and go to add here image reference and choose your reference here after. But first of all, here I will remove everything and add a circle. So here we will model, maybe you call it here cups or something like that. First of all, so we will not model the right side, then after the left side. So what I will do, I will activate after the mirror modifier. So let's go into orthographic view, in front view, and in edit mode into our circle of 24 vertices here. So first of all, I will model the basic shape here that goes like that. So I will make an extrusion into the z-axis, okay? Then ES to scale it down a little, okay? And starting this shape, I will come back in front view and make it easy again to have this kind of shape like this and scale it down, okay? Maybe a little more like that. Good, perfect. So what I would like here is to have something with nice curve here, okay? So what I can do to have this kind of shape, you have multiple options again, actually. What you can do, what you could do actually, it's make something like that. So you can use a UV sphere with 24, the same number of vertices, go there with GZ and remove what you don't need. So what you don't need is it will be all those vertices here, okay? And then you go there and make GZ, scale it down to have the right here shape and scale it into the z-axis somewhere like that, okay? And it will create a perfect shape. Look at this. Now I want to make GZ, this, align it with the geometry and make a bridge between these two loops here with shift click and alt click and shift alt left click. And now we can here make Control E, bridge edge loops like that, and we have the right shape, something really what we wanted actually. Maybe this, I will put it back a little more with GZ. Okay, you have to have kind of an angle here, and after it start with a round shape. But you could make something with extrude this one, okay, with this, and after use the bevel tool maybe to, or extrude one by one, but it will be a little long. So I like here what we did actually. So we will keep that. So this, it's okay. Now I will come back to the first loop that we had and I will extrude it with S, so ES, and I will have again that shape, okay? So let's see a little the rest of the shape here. And what I will do, I will start to make the coffins, maybe. I will extrude that into the z-axis, scale it up, has to be a little bigger, extrude into the z-axis, scale it up again, still the same. So we want something comfortable for ears, easy again, scale it down, and we start to make that shape here, okay? Extrude again, S, extrude again, Z, S, and we want the inside shape, so EZ again, okay, and EZ and S. And now I make an extrusion again into again the z-axis and ES and ES again, and we will close the shape. So we know already how to close the shape with Control F, grid fill, and we go there, align it with the right offset here, and we will have something like that. Good. So what we can do is watching that here into this viewport shading solid view, and now we will add a modifier, and this modifier will be a subdivision surface. So now we will have this kind of shape. Okay, we could even increase and watch here how it looks already. So okay, it looks nice. We have already a nice shape. So what I would like, you see that when I add this modifier, sometimes it makes the edges a little less sharp, and sometimes I need more sharpness. So how to do that? You can see it here with this loop inside that we don't see because of the modifier. So this loop here, okay? And we can see it here as well. Me, I want a sharp edge here and a sharp edge here. So we have two solutions for that. The first one is to add some geometry. So to add some geometry, you can use, for example, the Control R here and add some geometry. So for example, like that, very close to the first one, and another here, okay, to have really a sharp angle at this point. But maybe it's something that adds some geometry, and maybe it's more difficult to manage it later. We have a specific tool in Blender that works well, that works very well. It works only with subdivision surface, and you use Shift E. Shift E will crease, and you can see that it makes the same kind of effect, but only into that shape, into that selection. And now if I deselect it, it will be a pink color to show that I did crease this one. Okay, and I will make the same here with Shift E, I increase, and look at that, the right shape that we have now. So it looks good already. Maybe I will create here, because we want only quads, it's always better. For example, why I would use quads here, and why it could be a problem. Maybe I want to select this entire loop here, and sometimes if, for example, I don't have this one, okay, if I hide this to show you why, if I select here, it will stop the selection here, because here it's triangle, so it doesn't know how to go into the other side. So what I will do here, I will remove this vertex here, and with Control F, I will use the grid fill again. Now I can select the entire loop very easily, just like this, okay? I will make Alt H to put back my geometry. So H will hide the geometry. Alt H will make the geometry comes back. So very important one as well. Okay, now we have our global shape. Maybe I don't like that much that loop, and I can remove an entire loop like this. Okay, and to show you something more, I can select more or less. Okay, something like this. And maybe this, I will scale it down into the z-axis again and put this up. We want something that is not that much curved, okay? So something like that looks good. You can see that now we have this shape that appears, and if you want to make it less prominent like this, you just select it with the circle selection mode or the box selection tool here, just like that. And you use the smooth vertex again and again, and now it looks very good. Okay, so now we have the basic shape that we need. So maybe we could add some detail here by maybe add a loop, okay? Add another loop, just not far from the last one, and select both, just like that. And by extruding, we will create a nice shape there that will look very good, okay? Again, you can make another one here, and this one will be outside maybe, okay? And now you have something more complex that looks more technical, okay? You can add here into the loop inside there. You can add some crease as well with Shift E to have something really flat there. Good. So now we have our first here. So what I will do now, I will just select everything, make a rotation like that, okay? And it will be placed here, somewhere here maybe. And to verify that, I will add a modifier generate mirror. And you see that if you didn't move your origin point, it will give you the other side directly. The modification that I do here will appear into the right side as well. Okay, so very, very powerful tool here, the mirror. What we do usually, we put it above the subdivision modifier. We will see later during the training how the modifier works more deeply in detail, but here what you can understand is that you read modifiers from top to the bottom here, and I will explain you why will it put it here, and actually I will put it back here to show you how it works. So what I will do, I will add another circle now. Let's go, maybe this shape is a little too circular. So what I will do, I will select everything and make SY to have this kind of shape. Okay, looks already better, more like a real headphone. And I will now just add a new circle. Okay, always 24 vertices, it's okay, it will look good like this. What I will do, I will make a RX 90 degrees to put it in front, okay, and scale it down. On top view, I will try to put this circle here, and in front view, I will put it in the center of this shape here. Okay, you can see how it looks now. So first of all, I will just go there a little above the surface. It has to be straight, but above the surface, so somewhere here looks good. And I will make an extrusion first, okay, into the y-axis. And now I can make another extrusion to close the geometry here with ES and ES again. We know the process already. And maybe with Control F, grid fill, in front view to see, to always try to align things here. It's important. And now I will make an extrusion, ES, into that shape and make the axe here. So what I will do, I will make EY to put the axe over there. So what I will do, I will try to sharpen my edges here by using Shift E. What I can see already is that the normals are inverted. We can see that the shading, it's a little strange here. And if we look at it here and enable the normals, we can see that they are inside actually, they are not outside. So what I will do, I will select this part and make Shift N, and it looks already better, okay? And now what I can do sharpen the edges. So while I will select the loop here, I will make Shift E and sharpen this. Make the same with that one, Shift E, it will sharpen, and the same with that one as well inside. I try to select it. If you cannot select it, you disable here the, okay, now I have it. And I make Shift E again. This one we can really sharpen it strongly. Good, and now we have this kind of shape. Perfect, it's exactly what we wanted. We want that doesn't touch, but almost, so we can select everything with GY and align it with the geometry, with the geometry there. Just be sure that you don't have anything that touches the other part. Good. So what we will do now, we will create an arch somewhere here, okay? And to create that arch, we will make it manually, and we will remove some of the geometry here to have something that we can extrude. So what we will do here, we will extrude that. And let's go with the front view to see, yeah, what we will remove. So we will remove, I think, something like this, okay? It looks good and we can align it well. So I think we can start with this, okay? And so I will remove the faces here. By removing these faces, I will have a new here loop that I can select. You can see that now I can select that loop here, okay? And if I extrude that inside view, so Ctrl+3 to have the right view here, I can extrude that here, this way, and make a little rotation. So what I do usually to have a good, before making the rotation, what I do usually to have a good loop, I make SZ0 here, like this. I come back to this kind of shape and it will look better, okay? So in front view, we will try to align it here and there, like this, it will look better. We can remove the Shift E here. So Shift E -1, like this, we have nothing no sharpness into it. And now with Ctrl+3, we can extrude that like this. Make a rotation. Okay. Extrude again. Make a rotation. Extrude again. Make a rotation. And now we can play in front view to align everything. So I select that loop, align it here, and that loop again, oops, sorry, and that loop again, align it here. Okay, and now we have something that is not bad. Okay, looks good already. What we can do as well now is to make this alignment here in front view again. We make a rotation and align it a little bit like this. Okay, same for that one. And same for that one. Good, so now we have good shape. What we can do in top view as well, we can align that one, that it starts to meet the other one. So what I use usually at that point, I use a tool that is very, very powerful that you need to understand. It's here. I will select the entire shape that I want to put into the other side as well. So what I do in that case, I use the mesh symmetrize there. By default, what it will do, it will create something in the other side into the x-axis. Me, I want it from the positive y to the negative y, from the negative y, sorry, to the positive y. And now it will create this directly. So it will be very powerful, this. And very important to know this too. Control E, bridge edge loops, and now we have our shape like that. Okay, looks already not bad. But what we want to do with that shape is have something enabled here to can extrude on top here. So what we will do, we'll add a loop here, add a loop here, good. Select both loops, and maybe just with GZ, be sure that you have the right angle and that the shape is good. And with G as well, with natural G, without anything. Like this, you can align the geometry where you want to be. And now we can extrude this part. So we will make the same technique that we did use here, but we will make the arch over there. So what we will select and remove will create this part. So we want something like this, maybe. Yeah, we will remove that part here. I think it will be perfect for what we need. Okay, so we remove the faces here and we have a new loop that we can use to extrude again all along to have this shape now. So we extrude this, make a rotation, extrude this, make a rotation. Okay, another one maybe. And on top we want it bigger. So yeah, the first one actually, I did forget something. The first one actually I should do SZ0 to come back with something cleaner. And now I can make my extrusions and have something with a little rotation again. Okay, good. So it will depend of the shape that you need, but something like that might be okay. And now what I will do, I will make an extrusion and a S. So ES, you see that it makes something too big into the y-axis. So I come back with SY and align it like this. Scale it again to have something that will look big and make SY again. Good. So now we have this shape and we can continue our extrusions like that. Make rotation, extrude, make a rotation, and extrude again. And it's where that it's important to see the little options that we have into the mirror. So the first thing, it's the clipping. The clipping will not let you go into the other side. If I disable it, I can go into the other side with G like that. But if I use clipping, you can see that it sticks directly into the other. So it's something that will work. And what we can do as well, and see, if we look at it into the object mode, we can see that we have an arch here and here it's sharp. We don't want this sharpness. So why it makes this? Because it subdivide before the mirror. But if it mirror first and subdivide after, we will have this nice shape now. So far better already. And what we can do, it's here we can sharpen some edges as well. So what we can, it's just add with Control R a loop already. And this one after the one inside with Shift E, we will sharpen it well. Again, we can make the same here, sharpen that one, Control R, no, Shift E to have something sharper. Okay, that looks like this. No, it's like this part goes inside that one, and this is what we want. Now we can add some little details everywhere, and we will use simple techniques. It's the extrusion, and keep it here with right click and go with Alt S to go inside or go outside. So how it works this? I can do this already here. We did see how it works already, but I can show you again. So maybe I can scale this down a little, or yeah, we can just make a Control B, maybe just like that. So what I will do, I will make in both sides at once. With Control B, I add a line, and this line I extrude it, right click, I keep it here, okay, and with Alt S I put it outside or inside. So here I push it inside. And if I need, I come back to some loops, like for example this one, and here sharpen it again with Shift E to have something sharpened. Okay, looks better already with little details like that. We can make the same here, like add a loop. With Control B, we make a full double loop here, extrude, Alt S, and we have a new shape, more interesting, and that will be better. Shift E here, we add some sharpness, and look at this, we have something good. If I did forget the other side, I can just select that loop here, okay, and into the mesh symmetrize, I will just keep the symmetry like that, and it will make something perfectly aligned. Good. So what I can do, I can add some details here as well. Like for example, I will hide this, and with Control R, I will add two loops. There's two loops, I will select them like this in Edge Select mode, and with Control B, I make again two lines. There's two lines, I can extrude them, and with Alt S, put them inside. Just a little details like that. Looks already far better. We can make the same here with that shape. We have some possibilities, like for example, if you have a selection like this, you can use, for example, the circle selection mode here and make something like that, for example. Okay, and maybe I want to add to the selection, okay, to have this kind of shape, this kind of selection. So maybe I make something like this here. So I remove some selection, and again, and I add to the selection to have this kind of shape, and maybe even this one as well. Can look good. Now that we have this shape here, we can go there into, I come back to my normal selection box here, and we can make a direct extrusion here, like that. It will work. As you can see, it works well. So it looks good. Maybe I will add a loop here to sharpen things here a little. Add a loop here, sharpen things as well. And look at this. Looks good already too. What you can do to sharpen these edges here is just add a loop inside, just like this. Sometimes it's quicker. It adds some geometry, but it can be quicker than just select and sharpen each time. So yeah, sometimes I use this technique. It really depends if you want low poly or not. Here, it's just for a nice render, so let's go for details there, okay. And here we could add a loop as well, maybe a little loop here that we can extrude like that. Okay, and we have another shape that is interesting, that is more interesting. And again, we can add more details just by using these techniques, okay? So that's it for this this series, for this this modeling session. Here, what you can do as well with Alt H, you can add more thickness here by maybe add some more soft material there. So what I can do, just like this, I can just move that just easily like that, so it will create something bigger. But in case you don't want this, you can make a Y here to have a border. Okay. Remove the sharpness of this selection. So what I do, I make Shift E -1, like this, it removes the sharpness, and make an extrusion, okay? You can see that it adds this, So what you need to do for that, to not have the problem of this, you can use the clipping here, and instead of Y, you use ES, and it will make almost the same. And Shift E -1 again, and make another extrusion. So yeah, something like that. That will have a kind of soft materials there. Something softer. What we can do as well is to align this a little better. It will look better. And now we have something more comfortable. Okay. When you finish all the modelings here, headphones, you rename your object, you go into edit mode, you select everything, you make Shift N to recalculate normals outside, and you make M by distance to remove the vertices. Here I did it good, so I have 0 vertices removed. And now you can go in object mode and select the shading that you need. Here shade smooth or auto smooth will work. I guess that shade auto smooth will not change that much because I don't have that sharp angles here. So yeah, let's use just shade smooth here, the classical one. And that's it for the headphones modeling. Now you can add this to your project. So again and again, make these projects again and again until you don't think about the tools, until you don't think about the shortcuts. And for this, you just need some practice. It's just like that. It's normal. So yeah, you can try with other shapes, other simple shapes like this. Don't hesitate to have a look outside around you, and maybe you have some pens, you have some other mugs, styles, or you have some cameras, you have microphones or things around you that will help you, and you tell, okay, today I will model a microphone, how I do that. Because this is the most important. It's watch around what you have and be able to reproduce it and be able to model it. So what is important is to make your own experiment after too as well. So I give you some examples to start with, but after it's on to you. Maybe you want to model a house, or you want to model a printer, or you want to model a lamp or whatever. So don't hesitate to experiment yourself, but first of all, be aware that these tools are very important and that they need to be natural. So don't hesitate to practice and practice more. There's little exercises, and it will be a good start for you to start real modeling. So now let's go into chapter 4. We did finish chapter 3 here. We will go into chapter 4 and we will use the curve to continue our modeling journey.